Hi everyone, Top 10 Anime Crossovers here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new The World is a Beautiful Place and I Am No Longer Afraid to Die album, Always Foreign. This is the latest record from East Coast emo outfit, The World is a Beautiful Place. This is their third record, their second for EPITAPH Records. Their last album, a few years ago, Harmlessness, was this grand and full fusion of emo and post-rock. The band's approach enhanced the inherent drama in both styles, not to mention that generally they just had this knack for earnest vocals and poetic lyrics and very intricate instrumental layering, much of which, however, does not really carry over onto this new album for some reason. Don't get me wrong, there are at least a handful of pretty epic cuts on this record, most of which come toward the end of the project, like the closing track Infinite Steve that hits listeners with these cuts of guitar chords that slice through the mix, rushes of strings, passionate vocals. The whole thing kind of reminds me of a slightly more aggressive and emotionally potent Smashing Pumpkins. The song Fuzz Minor serves as one of the most dramatic and heavy and distorted tracks on the entire record, and the song Marine Tigers is the lengthiest and most epic track on the entire record. There is obviously a series of lyrical nods here to our rotten political system, to the focus that issues like immigration have taken in the current political landscape. As much as I like these tracks, the material that leads up to this point does not really deliver the band's usual level of finesse or detail, which in a way I kind of anticipated because some of the teaser tracks to this album were relatively straightforward and simple, sort of like the band was trying to pull off more of a pop-punk vibe. But now that I hear it within the context of the album, it's pretty underwhelming. It's kind of basic, and there's nothing really that interesting about it. Like the song The Future toward the start of the album, which is so one-note it just kind of leaves me confused. Despite the fact that this song hits a pretty good tempo, the band's older music just seemed kind of spunkier and more raw and more youthful by comparison. And sure, while in the past the lead vocals have come off very boyish and heartfelt, they've never really felt whiny or obnoxious to me, at least not as much as they are on this record. There are songs in the track listing here that are slightly more dynamic, like Hilltop, or like the song Faker, which kind of hangs in this really weird, moody, mellow guitar sleep-inducing purgatory before finally launching into a really explosive finish with layered vocal harmonies and busy drum fills and driving guitar leads. But I don't really think it's anything to write home about. I mean, the sound, the production is nowhere near as expansive as it's been in the past, nor are the instrumental progressions all that interesting. Sure, there were moments on Helplessness that were kind of obtuse and asked quite a bit of patience of listeners, but ultimately the ask was usually worth it because the payoff was pretty big. There was a lot of weight to what the band was doing instrumentally, or there was a really great narrative coming out of the lyrics. Meanwhile, by comparison on this new album, the song Dylan and Her Son sounds like some tacky mid-2000s emo pop with sugar-sweet synthesizers, and very little in the way of structure. And that's another thing, Always Foreign is a cut in runtime in comparison with its predecessor too, which isn't inherently a bad thing. I did think that Helplessness could have used a bit of paring down to its most essential moments. But instead of doing that, what the band seems to be doing here is just boiling things down to some bare essentials, but in the process of that, vaporizing what made the group interesting in the first place. I mean, a lot of the time I feel like I'm listening to a version of Me Without You, except the instrumental performances aren't as exciting and the storytelling isn't really there. Sort of like on the song Graham, which if you look at the lyrics on this track, it has all the elements of a painfully sad story, but it's written more like a lazy synopsis. The record is certainly listenable, it has its moments, but it's far from the band's best in my opinion. It's not the triumph for emo that their two previous records were, and it just kind of feels like a downgrade on all fronts. The performances, the amount of material that we're getting here, the level of ambition, it's okay. I could see hardcore fans getting more into it than me, but I'm just having a hard time finding stuff to really praise this record on, honestly. I'm feeling a light to decent 6 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe, and please don't cry. Just leave a thoughtful comment down in the comments if you're thoughtful, and respect others as well while you're in the comments too. Over here next to my head is another The World Is review that you can check out, or you can click on the link to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Forever.